Is this a true reflection of reduced transmission in the country? And more to become poor due to the pandemic, should we redefine household income classification? That's coming up. Retail businesses reopened today after being shut for almost a month under the MCO. As retailers open their doors again, are SOPs defined clearly to allow them to operate smoothly while ensuring the safety of customers. Datuk Sri Gary Chua, the immediate past president of the Malaysia Retail Chain Association, weighs in.
There should be clearer SOPs announced by the government because there tend to be some unclear and also some confusion even among the enforcers. For example, the police, the local authorities also act differently from the federal side. You see, for example, earlier we have even optical shop which is essential was asked to close by some of the local authorities. You see. So hopefully we should get clearer directions and also clearer SOPs by the government in the coming weeks or whatever in the future. I think that's very important. Before the government announce the SOPs, it will be very good and kind to engage with the stakeholders, all the stakeholders, because they are the one who knows the peculiarity of that particular business, you see. And so that you will not, we will not have to fine tune again. They have to keep going, keep changing, and become very unclear. And this would actually create problems and also create hindrance to the business sector. You see. I think the government just should allow business to carry on, just restrict SOPs, you see, and especially the malls and the people there. I think they're very, you can see, you walk around, shouldn't be any sort of concern for not following, you see.
The ongoing COVID-19 pandemic means that there are further challenges for the retail industry to come in 2021. How are retailers adjusting? What should consumers expect? More with Datuk Sri Gary Chua tomorrow night. There has been a decline in the overall number of daily reported COVID-19 cases since February 6, with a total of 3,288 new cases reported by the Health Ministry today. Is the drop in daily cases a true reflection of reduced transmission in the country? According to a report by health news portal Code Blue, this is due to a consistent decrease in the number of COVID-19 tests being conducted. Here is what Astro Muhammad Khalid, founder of Galen Centre for Health and Social Policy, has to say.
Well, we would all be sighing with relief if it were an accurate picture, but the drop in yesterday's reported cases may not be an accurate reflection of reduced transmission of COVID-19 in Malaysia. And for two reasons. Testing numbers have declined over the past week, while the positivity rate has remained consistently above 5%. The Ministry of Health data actually shows a steady decline in the number of people tested for COVID-19. For example, for 8th February, the DG yesterday mentioned that only 30% of current RT-PCR capacity was being utilized out of a total capacity of more than 76,000. So as far as we are aware, testing has not ever gone beyond 70% of capacity, and that there have also been surprising changes in testing protocols, which also seem aimed to reduce testing. We need to increase testing, not decrease testing. I don't think we really understand this reduced testing strategy and what it's intended to produce. So one of the things that we hear quite a lot about is the R naught values, and rather than swinging on the roller coaster of R naught values, the government should really depend on positivity rates for its policy decisions. When I refer to positivity rates, these are the percentage of all COVID-19 tests performed that are actually positive, or positive tests divided by the total number of tests times 100. Positivity rates gives us an indication of how widespread infection is in an area where the testing is being conducted, and whether levels of testing are keeping up with the levels of disease transmission. So a high rate suggests higher transmission, and that there are likely more people with COVID-19 in the community who haven't been tested yet. So it means that there are more undetected COVID-19 cases in the community, and this is a valuable epidemiology tool, especially when applied to the individual states.
Amid the COVID-19 pandemic, more Malaysians may find themselves actually being among the poor. This is despite Malaysia's current official M40 classification, where they may still be considered as the country's middle class. Is there a need to redefine how household incomes are classified? Farhana Sheh has the story.
With the pandemic forcing people to lose income and jobs, there is a need to redefine the household income classification to better reflect today's reality, so that people who do need the assistance receive them. In July 2020, the Department of Statistics has reclassified Malaysia's household income threshold. Based on the 2019's data, B40 is classified as those earning less than 4,850 ringgit, whereas the T20s has a household income of 10,960 ringgit and above. M40's household earns in between those amount with a median income of 7,093 ringgit. This group consists of 2.91 million households. What this shows is a higher income bracket for each group when compared to the last survey done in 2016. But do they paint a realistic picture of Malaysia's household today?
Those groups that were before classified as B40 has been upgraded into M40, and as a result we see that the M40 groups actually comprise some of the B40 group before, and this is quite puzzling. And why do we upgrade the B40 to M40? Does this mean that the income level in Malaysia has dropped in general? Does it mean that the value of ringgit has gone up in Malaysia? So if the cost of living goes up but the classification go down, what does that imply? That means that we are trying to recognize that these people do not need help. Because according to the classification, they are already the M40 group or the T20 group, for example.
Last year, Hazanah Research Institute found that many from the M40 group have similar consumption patterns to the top end of the B40. What it means is that while they can afford to consume more, they are mostly basic needs.
We need to look at the expense structure of each group. From B1 to B4, M1 to M4, and the T1 and T2. The expense structure will reflect better, because if we want to help this group, it must be based on their need and not their excess income. Perhaps we can leave out the T2 group because obviously well above the basic need. But the M40 crucial group that we must address. The B40 hopefully will continue to get support in terms of grant and so on.
Adding the pandemic in the equation, now is more important than ever to revisit how we classify our population based on their household incomes.
Pandemics, we have heard yesterday the announcement on the 4.8% unemployment figures, the worst in 22 years. And this is expected to get worse soon. And so the M40 or even the T20, if in the course of this pandemic they suddenly lose job and they lost their source of income, so the classification become academic. We need to look at their lifestyle, we need to look at their obligations, their liability and so on. So that should be a better classification if we are creating programs to really assist them to continue achieving the objective of shared prosperity.
We'll take a short break. Stay with us.
The third wave of COVID-19 has taken us by storm. There's no room to take anything lightly. Everyone must follow all the steps to stop.
Kepada anda kami bawakan fakta, susulan dan kupasan yang terkini. Tiada drama dan tiada.
Welcome back. Continuing our report last night on enhancing cybersecurity in Malaysia following a warning by hacktivist group Anonymous Malaysia. In the second part of this report, we take a closer look on the need for more comprehensive measures to safeguard our data and how government should step up.
Okay, technology is evolving. Yeah, you know that every year your phone have a new release. You have a new capability, and then you require a lot of updates. It same goes to the infrastructure in the government to hold our data, important data, and critical data. Right, for governments, right, they can create a policy and also create a law, right. And a law that can be specific into this kind of cybersecurity or threat, right? So what we have now is a lot of in the gray area. It's not been defined carefully. And then part of creating the law and the policies, the government also must have the campaign to create the campaign awareness to ensure that law and the policies be reached to the people, to the netizens or to the user itself.
On to international news. Protests in Myanmar continued for the 5th consecutive day, despite an increased level of threat from Myanmar's military government. A woman was reportedly severely injured as police tries to disperse protesters using water cannon, rubber bullets and live rounds. Rights groups and news outlets say the woman was shot in the head. There have been reports of serious injuries as police have increased their use of force, but no casualties so far. The United States and United Nations condemned the use of force against protesters who demand the reversal of the coup and the release of Aung San Suu Kyi and other detained leaders of her National League for Democracy. It's been 10 days since the military coup in Myanmar and thousands of people have taken to the streets to protest the junta. Will the power grab hold? Tonight on Consider This, we discuss the latest situation in Myanmar. The U.S. Senate has found that the impeachment trial of former President Donald Trump is constitutional, allowing full proceedings to begin today.
Trump's defense team argued that he cannot face trial after leaving the White House. But a 56-44 majority voted in favor of continuing, with a handful of Republicans backing the measure. Trump is accused of inciting insurrection when the U.S. Congress was stormed last month. Trump is only the third president in the U.S. history to be impeached. If convicted, Trump could be barred from holding office again.
A malfunctioning throttle may have caused the pilots of a Sriwijaya airjet to lose control, leading it to plunge into the Java Sea last month, killing all 62 people on board.
Indonesian investigators said they are still struggling to understand why the 26-year-old jet nosedived minutes after taking off from Jakarta on January 9th. Preliminary report suggests the plane's left engine's throttle lever moved backwards on its own while autopilot was engaged, reducing the power output of the engine before the jet plunged into the sea.
That is all we have for you on AWANI tonight. Get the latest news updates on COVID-19 and COVID-19 vaccines from astroawani.com and Astro AWANI app. I'm Cynthia Ng. We'll see you tomorrow.